is New Mexico Frontiers. Presented by Veris Research.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for this edition of New Mexico Frontiers, the digital series. I'm Chad Brummett. All right, if you have driven around Albuquerque, the metro, even throughout the state, you've probably seen the work of today's guest. That includes the beautiful Catherine Winograd building over at C&M, including the beautiful new facade at the Albuquerque Convention Center. It's been there for a little bit. And of course, what I think is absolutely beautiful, the Bernalillo County building in downtown. That is all Decker, the architectural firm, and we have the man behind all of the beautiful architecture, as well as some really great forward-thinking ideas for the future of New Mexico and our economy here. Mr. Dale Decker, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Chad.
Absolutely. Let's kind of unpack a little bit before we talk about the future. Let's talk a little bit about the past and current things. Tell us a little bit about your architectural firm and maybe some of the buildings that we're driving around that we may not know was from your firm.
Okay, great. Well, so a little bit about the firm. Decker is a architectural engineering and planning firm with about 225 employees. Our main office is in Albuquerque. We also have offices in Phoenix and El Paso, but have done work pretty much throughout the whole United States. And myself, I was raised in Albuquerque, went to Zia, Jefferson, and Highland High School. I went to Texas Tech, came back, and started practicing architecture here in 1978. And, really, it's our firm story is one of organic growth. We grew from 2 people to the firm that we have today, and it's been built on the shoulders of some great partners that I've had over the years, Steve Parrish, Phil Sabatini, current leadership of the company, Benjamin Gardner, Emily Allen, Kendall Giles. These are all New Mexicans that love our state and wanted to succeed.
Let's talk a little bit about you've got a lot going on right now here in Albuquerque and throughout. Specifically, I'm interested in a new development that you guys are working on with Kirtland or at Kirtland Air Force Base. And the idea, and tell us a little bit, the name Max-Q, is that what we're calling it?
Yes, it's called Max-Q, and it refers to a space term of when something reaches critical velocity to escape into orbit around the Earth. So that's where we came up with the name of Max-Q.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's a 70-acre mixed-use development that is on Gibson Boulevard, right by the Air Force Research Lab, between Carlisle and Truman. And so when you see that vacant property there, that's the property that's being developed. And it really is in response to a desire to be part of diversifying our state's economy. And aerospace and directed energy are the 2 specialties at the Air Force Research Lab that attracts a lot of private, independent government contractors to New Mexico, providing great jobs, and just really contributing to the overall uniqueness of our community, just like Sandia National Labs does, our Department of Energy, the NNSA. So we believe that over time, that'll be a thriving development, and it'll employ a lot of people within our community, but also will bring new blood to our community as well.
Now, one of the things as I was reading about this project that you were kind of interested in was the fact that, as you said, you've got all of these folks that are there. Sometimes they're putting in 60 hours a week. They're putting in long hours doing this work, but they don't have a lot of places for them to maybe get away from the office for a little bit, maybe do a little bit of retail, maybe just grab a cup of coffee and just let, things percolate. And that really hasn't existed in sort of a central space for Kirtland and Air Force Base employees. Is that right?
That's correct. That whole west side of Kirtland Air Force Base really doesn't have a lot of commercial amenities. So that's something that we're going to be providing. Kirtland Federal Credit Union has started construction on their facility there, and we will be breaking ground probably at the end of January on some additional retail space. We have some pretty nationally known tenants that are looking at our space, so that would be great. I can't really announce who they are yet.
Sure.
But I think anybody, from Albuquerque realizes that that whole stretch of Gibson is really redeveloping. And from really the freeway I-25 all the way really almost to the Louisiana Gate, there's great opportunities for commercial retail uses, but also it provides great access for employees for the research parks and the other things that are along Gibson, including Max Q.
Now, will this space, and I was a little unclear, so I want to make sure that I'm getting it's not behind the secure gates.
That's
So is this something that just regular folks that are not working at Kirtland Air Force Base can patronize as well?
Yes,
It is. Okay.
it is Air Force property, and it's called an enhanced use lease. The Air Force has the ability to take surplus property and put it out into the marketplace for commercial development. So it's outside the fence. It's accessible from Gibson by anybody, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to have a direct connection to the Air Force Research Lab, which has some 2,000 plus employees. But really, it's kind of a twofer for the community in a lot of ways. It supports the missions at the Air Force Research Lab, but it also provides much needed amenities for that whole section of our city, which, for a number of years really was kind of neglected. So now we've got this great opportunity with the developments that are occurring to the west on Gibson and what we're able to do on Max Q to really drive a whole new corridor of activity in our city.
Okay. Well, that is just one that's current and maybe future. Let's also talk future and kind of big picture beyond not just what Decker is doing, but the future developments within New Mexico. I was reading an article, I believe that you had written, and you say that we need a 21st century business plan. What does that mean? What does a 21st century business plan for New Mexico look like to you?
Well, I think a 21st century business plan really, at its foundation, is about how we're going to diversify our economy away from just oil and gas revenues. They've been such a big part of our state's revenue stream that now's the time to really be thinking about, well, what do we do next? And what does that look like? So the state in 2021 hired a firm called the Stanford Research Institute, and they identified, I believe, 9 different clusters of industry that we should focus on as a state in order to diversify our economy. And one of those was aerospace, but the others were bioscience, intelligent manufacturing, cybersecurity, sustainable agriculture, green and renewable energy, outdoor recreation, and global trade. And of course, if you look at Albuquerque and the whole Rio Grande corridor, really, you've got unbelievable investment from the United States in our communities via Sandia National Labs, Los Alamos National Labs, and Kirtland Air Force Base and the Air Force Research Lab. So we've got all the pieces. And so now how do we really take best advantage of that to help grow and support those missions? Because they are global, but they're national security missions. And I think that they're playing a real vital part in securing our country and providing a safe place for Americans. So that's really kind of the bigger picture. And we have unbelievable assets. Sandia National Labs is one of the leaders in advanced and intelligent manufacturing. Quantum computing is a tremendous expertise that we're building at our University of New Mexico, as well as what we're seeing at Kirtland Air Force Base, Sandia National Labs. You've got cybersecurity. New Mexico Tech is one of the leaders in that. Sustainable agriculture, New Mexico State. So, I mean, you start to kind of combine all these great assets and get everybody rowing in the right direction. What we need is to be thinking about what kind of strategic investments could our state be making that would entice the private sector to come to New Mexico and take advantage of that. And a good example of what happens when the state does make certain incentives available for business, you build a film industry. We have Netflix here. Netflix probably would not be here if the state hadn't had the vision to create a program that incentivized film to be here. And so now we see it growing. We think there's opportunities that are unique to New Mexico in the fact that we have, I think this year it's going to be nearly $750 million in new money thanks to oil and gas. So how do we deploy those resources to build those industries of the future that are going to diversify our state's economy? And that's I think that we should all be concerned about that, realizing that oil and gas does contribute about 50% of all the tax revenues that we spend on public schools, uh, all the public services that we get out of our state government comes from oil and gas. It'll always be here as a part of our economy, but I think globally we're going to see demand waning over time, and that gives us an opportunity now to plan for the future. So that's the 21st century business plan that I think we need, matching it with vision, the industry cluster, and then deploying the resources now with a sense of urgency to get our state moving in the right direction.
And it seems a number of those industries and areas. I mean, it seems that New Mexico it has at least a finger on the pulse of almost all of them. You talk about renewable energy, obviously, Lano Sandia, all the national labs
Yep,
being here. We are no strangers to technological innovation.
that's correct.
It's just sort of built into our history. So with that, obviously, there are probably some challenges that our state is facing. In your opinion, what are the biggest challenges? What are the biggest roadblocks to getting these going, and how do we get over them?
Well, I think there's a couple, or maybe three, probably more than that. But, one of the biggest ones I think is one around mindset.
Okay.
I think when a lot of people hear the word economic development, somehow that doesn't seem right. They don't understand that really economic development is about economic opportunity for people to have good, meaningful, high paying jobs. And if we could reframe it to have a mindset that economic development equals economic opportunity, that puts a whole different spin on it because we have one of the lowest labor force participation rates in the country at about 57% as compared to a national average of 63%.
Wow.
And that means that we have about 45 to 50,000 New Mexicans that are not in the workforce in meaningful work. And once you're in the workforce, if you're young and entering it, you're usually going to move up the ladder. You're going to provide a great livelihood for your families, and those are the kinds of people we want to attract to our community. But they're also the ones that we want to provide economic opportunities so they stay
Right.
in our community. And so that's where I think, one of the big challenges is, and that translates into a lot of different issues in our state. And I think the other one is we are overregulated when it comes to looking at New Mexico compared to the states surrounding us. And for instance, I think the statistic is that New Mexico has about 123,000 different regulations
Okay.
that covers everything from most businesses, healthcare, our business, construction, as compared to Arizona, which is about 3.5 to 4 times larger in population than New Mexico, and they have 63,000. Well, those regulations take people to regulate, right? So government has adjusted. We have probably more regulators per capita than just about any state. So I think we need to look at those regulations that really don't add value.
Okay.
And a lot of them do, but a lot of them probably need to be looked at differently. And I think the other thing we need to figure out is how do we create an environment as we look at diversifying our economy where our tax structure and how we tax business is as good as, if not better than, the states surrounding us. And for instance, our corporate income tax is higher than any of the states surrounding us. Texas doesn't have a corporate income tax. Our New Mexico gross receipts tax is very confusing to a lot of businesses that are looking to do business here. Uh, and as a result, those are all impediments to how we move forward quickly. And I was told that Danielle Casey from Area is going to be on, and I'm sure she's going to talk about something that's also very important. It's called site readiness.
Hmm.
When a company wants to come to New Mexico, a major employer, they need to know that they can turn a shovel of dirt in 6 months to a year, not in 6 years to 10 years. And right now, our system is not set up to fund future infrastructure for growth. Only if somebody says they're going to come will we build it to them. Well, that takes years to do. So again, that's another opportunity to deploy some of those surplus resources that could attract and make our state competitive. Because again, we got a very productive workforce. We have CNM, probably one of the premier institutions in the United States relative to workforce training, and we have the scientific and the technical talent here that can support them. So, there's a lot of pieces, but if we could just connect those dots, just think about the opportunities we would create in our state.
Okay. Okay. And that makes sense. And you're right. And in talking about the universities and the training that is available, speaking with members of New Mexico Tech, UNM, New Mexico State University, they all really seem to be leaning forward in very emergent technology and understanding that, yeah, we've got to get this workforce trained. And it seems that it's this delicate balance of, you want to keep certain regulations in place that maintain safety and maintain, the betterment for society, but at the same time, is it effective to cultivate business and bring them here? So it really seems like a very tightrope, so to speak, that you got to walk.
Yeah, and I think that in all fairness, we're moving into a whole new economy
Yeah.
we've never experienced.
Sure.
And so a lot of those regulations were designed for a different economy.
Hmm.
And in the era of where we're going with artificial intelligence, supercomputing, quantum computing, the types of industries that are looking at New Mexico, solar panel manufacturers, wind turbine companies, those are all great, but some of those regulations might have been designed for, kitchen sink installers. I don't know, and
Right.
and they don't apply anymore, but there's still a regulation on the book that somebody has to comply with. So I think it's just a time to really go through and look at those in context with those economic development clusters that we've identified,
Yeah.
and see how we can make it the most efficient system possible, but also providing the greatest protection to the public and the welfare of the citizens of our state.
And part of that protection too is making sure that you do have those good paying jobs.
That's right.
We're not losing them.
Yeah,
You want to protect that economy as well.
exactly. And if we don't provide them, somebody will.
Sure.
And we've had tremendous out migration since 2010 of millennials who have moved to the states surrounding us for economic opportunity. And we need to bring them back to New Mexico, those ones that left. And there's great programs out there that are designed to do that. STEM Boomerang is one, which is designed to get those New Mexicans back that left and went to Colorado or Dallas or Salt Lake City. We need to provide them equivalent opportunities here because I think a lot of people might have left New Mexico to go seek those opportunities, but their heart is still here.
Right. Yeah, and you do hear that a lot. I know that, having friends that have moved on, it is their heart is in New Mexico, but something has taken them out of state. Before we wrap things up here, we got to do a little bragging on you because I understand you were the recipient of an award, the John A. Myers Award for Leadership in Urban Excellence. Tell me a little bit about this award, how you became the recipient, and what it means to you.
Well, I mean, number one, was very surprised because I was elevated to standing alongside giants, and those giants were John Myers, who was a well-known and land use attorney that was spearheaded many of the great developments that we've seen around our community, from Mesa del Sol to the work at ABQ Uptown. And so John was the first recipient of that. The second recipient was a guy by the name of Bob Murphy. And Bob was a developer with the Sandia Tram. He developed Ventana Ranch and has built any number of homes in Sandia Heights and provided great urban excellence. So, just to be in the league with those guys was such a great honor. And the Urban Land Institute really is about bringing national best practices to our city and to our state in the use of land. And so it's a national organization. This is a local award But for me, it was a great honor just to be standing alongside such great contributors to our community, and I was very humbled by it. But as you can imagine, there was a lot of people that helped me get to the point where I did, and I surely didn't do it all by myself. So it was very humbling.
That is fantastic. Um, so obviously, as we were saying with Decker, you've gone through a lot of things, including this rebranding of the name. Now we are Decker. Um, what was the idea for the rebranding, and is it really kind of, because it really seems to me kind of a current theme is taking a look, re-examining where everything is at and making sure that our, whether we're talking state policy, whether we are talking architectural design. I know that your firm was using digital twins, which we covered in New Mexico Frontiers, which seems like a very revolutionary way to look at architecture and building maintenance. So you're very much, you strike me as a very cutting edge guy, and very much like let's never rest on our laurels. Let's lean forward and figure out what we're doing. Was that kind of the idea behind this?
Yeah, I think it was, and again, they left the current leadership within the firm left me out of that loop because I didn't want to influence that, and that was not necessarily my idea. But
Okay.
the firm had changed, and over the years, it was Art Decker Architects. That was my dad. Then it was Decker and Associates, and then it was Decker Parrish and Associates, and then it was Decker Parrish Sabatini. And it's always evolved. And what has happened since that time is Steve Parrish, probably one of the smartest businessmen architects you'd ever want to meet, passed away in 2019, right before COVID. COVID starts. Bill Sabatini, a year or two older than I was at the time, came in and said, "Hey, I'd like to retire." But Bill Sabatini was a highly regarded design architect and just a fantastic a contributor to the firm. And so, after a little while, we all looked around and said, well, Decker's still here, so let's just change it to Decker. So, I'll be here for a little while longer, obviously, but that too was a great honor for myself, recognizing obviously the role of all these other partners that we've had over the year and employees that have really built the firm. But we're going to continue to try to be leaders in our industry, to try to help move our state forward in economic development, and to really hopefully set the tone for what New Mexico can and should be in the future.
Dale, if someone wants more information, they want to, because you've got a lot on your website. First of all, it's very robust. There is a lot of ideas. You can go on and see the various projects that you are working on. Where can we find you online? Can we follow you on social media? And if we want to learn more about some of these ideas, is there a website? Like what are you reading that you
Well,
recommend us to read?
well, you can go to deckerdesign.org. That's our website. You can see our leadership team, and you can see the various disciplines that we have there, from interiors to structural engineers to planners and obviously architectural designers. But we encourage thought leadership. And one thing I've been thinking about lately, and I don't want to run out of time here
No, you're
thinking
fine.
about it,
Fine.
but is this whole notion of a circular economy.
Okay.
And the circular economy is different, is an evolving economic and sustainability concept where in the past we would take raw materials, we would make products, they would reach their end of the life, and then we would put them in the landfill.
Hmm.
And we thought with a clean conscience, it was taken care of. Whereas in reality, we're in a world where we need a circular economy where you take, you make, you reach end of life, but you repurpose and recycle that product to keep it in a cycle, a circular economy. And I think that's a huge opportunity for New Mexico going forward, because we're going to hear a lot more about it. It's the kind of thing that, I've been tracking for a number of years on my Google Alerts. That's really kind of where I get most of my information, Google Alerts. But, 5 years ago, there might have been 12 million mentions, which on Google Alerts is nothing. Well, there's probably 120 million today. So you can kind of see the velocity. And the same with artificial intelligence. Is another huge opportunity for our state with the brain trust, the brain power that we have in our labs, our UNM with Ivan Deutsch, and you guys did a fabulous piece on that already around quantum, and the fact that we're part of a consortium with a group out of Colorado in that. Of course, space is going to be huge for our state relative to the fact that we've got the Air Force Research Lab here, but we also have Spaceport America, which is a very unique piece of infrastructure that is a cutting edge facility and a cutting edge opportunity. So, I don't know where I'm going with this other than to say we've got all the right stuff, and we just need to make it the right stuff, I guess is the way to say it.
Connecting A, B, and C, and just putting all these together. Well, Dale, this has been a fantastic conversation, a very enlightening conversation.
Thank you.
We appreciate all that you are doing for the community, the beautiful architecture you're providing to the Southwest and through the United States. Continue the great work, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, Chad. And thanks to KRQE because those Frontier series are fantastic.
Oh, well,
All I
thank
can
you.
say.
Thank you. We'll always take that.
Always
Thank you so
great.
much. Well, thank you for joining us again, guys. If you want a full recap of this, if you want to see some of the stories that Dale's bragging about, they are on our website at krqe.com. Until next time, I'm Chad Brummett. This has been New Mexico Frontiers, the digital series.